Hola amigos y amigas, ¿qué tal estáis, chavalada? Hoy tenemos nuevo vídeo desde Creative Assembly y nos van a contar los pasos que se vienen de novedades próximamente. Y sí, tenemos confirmación de quién es el líder de facción de Slaanesh en el DLC. Dechala, perfecto, era mi apuesta principal. Pero también tenemos otros temas como las betas de IA en campaña o cómo y por qué están sacando parches con reworks y unidades y mejoras adicionales. Muchas cosas en este vídeo, paciencia que las vamos a ver todas, pero quiero que veamos todo conforme lo han explicado. Vamos con el vídeo e ir haciendo pausas y apuntes. Adelante, Steve. Puedes comenzar.
Hi everyone, I'm Steve Coleman, Senior Community Manager on Total War, and once again I am joined by some of our wonderful Warhammer 3 dev team to talk a little bit about patches, betas, and a little bit more. I am joined by Will, and I am also joined, through the magic of magic, Vasil and Radoslav from our Sofia studio in Bulgaria. So let's do a quick introductions. Will, let's start with you. If you just tell us who you are, what you do, and some things you've worked on.
Righto. I'm William Hoekstad, and I'm a Warhammer 3 DLC designer. I worked at the company for 5-6 years roughly, working on mostly mainline DLC for Warhammer 3. Recently, my focus has been primarily on our patching efforts, the interim content, the .x patches, 5.3, 5.2, 6.1, which is hopefully in your hands by now, and making those extra bits of content to tide you over while you wait for our more major releases.
Awesome, thank you, Will.
Alto. Creo que antes de ver lo que viene más tarde, habría que hablar en este punto mucho sobre por qué se retrasa el contenido nuevo de pago en Total War Warhammer 3. Uno de los desarrolladores de DLCs, que lleva 6 años en ello, nos dice, le están poniendo a hacer parches, que es uno de los puntos principales del juego. Salvo cagadas no esperadas, que las hay, como la que los endgames y los ejércitos se quedan protegiendo exclusivamente la capital y no se mueven, hay que admitir que los parches han traído arreglos y algunos rewards y contenidos adicionales, aunque sean unidades gratis, que traen buenos contenidos al juego, y es el punto en el que están ahora mismo. Creo que este es uno de los puntos de la compañía, consolidar su juego estrella antes de monetizar aún más sus partes. Eso es buena noticia. Después de este breve inciso, volvemos al vídeo.
And now I'll throw over to Sofia. Vasil, how about you?
Hey, so my name is Vasil, and I've been working as a lead DLC designer over Warhammer DLC projects. And I've been with CA for a while now, for a few years back, and I'm very excited to join the Warhammer team.
Thank you. And Rado, how about you?
Yes, hello, my name is Radoslav. I'm a principal tech designer working on Total War. I've recently joined the DLC team after finishing up with Total War Pharaoh, and now I'm working with various people on both patching efforts and DLC efforts.
Great, thank you guys, and thank you for joining us today. But for now, I'm going to send you back into the ether.
Impressive.
It worked! Oh no, they're still there! We'll come back to you in a little bit. We're just going to chat with Will about the patches. So, patch 6.1 has just recently dropped for Warhammer 3, bringing with it some refreshes for Kislev, Tzeentch, and Grand Cathay, as well as some new units, because everybody loves free stuff. And the usual bug fixes and tweaks to the core game that always come with these patches.
Decir que todo esto lo tenéis explicado en el canal, en este vídeo de aquí arriba. Seguimos.
So what's your approach to these patches at the moment? So how are you figuring out what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it?
So right now, kind of the core of our strategy is something new to chew on. A new extra gubbin attached to something that already exists to give you a little bit more to play with. And how we arrive at what to do is primarily something that we figure out through the help of the PX team. That's the player experience team, whose job it is to go through all those conversations everywhere out there and distill that down into something digestible for us in design to read and go, we think we can solve this problem that lots of people are having. Or we see that a lot of people are happy about this and want to see more of it, or unhappy about this thing and want to see it improved. And those help inform us in a very qualitative way. Instead of, we can't just always go in our guts. We need some hard data, and PX are the perfect team for providing that to us.
Awesome. So the things that have come in the past, and in like 5.1, 5.2, etc., as well as 6.1, has that all come through from the PX team? Has that all been based on the feedback that they've gathered for you, or do you often find things out in the wild world yourselves?
There's a couple things. We take things to PX as well because we're all people, and we see things, we read about our own game. I mean, you can't prevent yourself from going on your own forums at some point. And when we see something that really like jumps out to us, we like to sneakily go to PX and go, hey, do you have any more info on this? Because I might have an idea. And some of the things have come from our side of the pond as well on that front. I think, for example, the Deeps was very much a Mitch-led. This was something he was excited about. This was something he really wanted to do. But of course, we funnel it through the appropriate channels anyway. There's a process to everything.
Awesome.
Este punto es importante. Este nuevo equipo que nos presentaron y no tenía muy claro que fuera a funcionar de manera real, está leyendo mucho a la comunidad y parte de las mejoras, reworks y demás cosas que están saliendo están muy acordes con las necesidades de nosotros, los jugadores. Y por eso, como hablábamos antes, mejorar lo que ya existe es el main del equipo de desarrollo en este momento. Y me gusta, así que se debe seguir dando feedback a través de las redes sociales. Seguid con ello, gente.
Looking forward, now that 6.1 is out there, is there anything you guys have already got planned for 6.2 or anything else that you're looking at for future?
So at the moment, of course, seeing as this is being recorded before the release of 6.1, it's a little bit early to say exactly what we're doing in 6.2. We're still in the ideation phase on that. I can talk some broad strokes though. Up until this point, we've been thinking a lot about what little extra gubbins can we add for you. But for 6.2, what we'd like to do is take that focus and bring it down to what core game system can we do some improvements for? And some examples of what we think about when we say that is things like, can we improve the situation around ancillaries for everyone? This was something that we originally wanted to do in 5.3, but we weren't happy enough with the result to put that out there yet. Some other things that are hot topics, especially because this is something that the PX team have been telling us about, is people are talking a lot about control, people are talking a lot about corruption, and that there's a lot of strong opinions on that. And that is something that we are considering right now. I think the way I'm going to frame this is it is too early for us to say exactly how we'll approach it because it's a very volatile space. It's a big core system shared with all the factions in the game. And we have a lot of ideas. We know, for example, that when we moved to Warhammer 3, we changed corruption entirely from the system where it was a percentage division inside the province to having this more tabulated, you have a set specific discrete number that can go to 100. And we did that originally because we had this consistent complaint of people who really don't like it when they can't remove all the corruption in the province. They really like to wipe the slate clean, have no corruption. But now we have a different problem where a little bit of corruption can really snowball to 0 or to 100 very easily. And that's something that's a topic where we're having a lot of discussions on this, whether how do we solve this? Do we want to solve this? And that's why I think it's a bit too early to give specifics, but these are the kinds of topics we're talking about right now. And I don't think we can put anything out there until we're quite happy with it, because it's such a core system. So we're going to have to be really sure about this one.
Se plantea un muy buen enfoque en el juego, porque estoy muy de acuerdo en lo expuesto en el vídeo. Para siguientes parches hay una corrupción ahora mismo altísima, muy fácil de subir de algunas formas y muy fácil de retirarla. Quizá algo más equilibrado sería lo mejor. Y me gustaría que en vez de algo general que den más o menos orden público, que cada corrupción dé más o menos penalizaciones específicas. Que la corrupción, por ejemplo, de Nurgle, te quite más reabastecimiento si no es tu corrupción y que te la mejore si lo es. O también penalizaciones específicas. Me gustaría algo más elaborado, estilo que si tienes corrupción de Zench en la provincia, puedas subir tu nivel de magia a la zona, pero que te quite relaciones diplomáticas. O que los de Slaanesh te den mejoras de diplomacia, pero reducir liderazgo en batallas, cosas que salgan de lo clásico, ¿no? Te penalizo orden público y crecimiento. Me gusta algo más específico, sería bueno. No sé qué pensáis, pero vamos a ver si profundizan un poquito más en el vídeo. Estoy deseando ver las referencias del futuro parche 6.2 y como han pedido, contribuiré por mis líneas, por las oficiales también, y os invito a vosotros que también sigáis apoyando.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. No, that's a good approach. I don't know where you'll obviously be in your thought process for this, but maybe this will prompt people to give us a bit more feedback on that specific topic, and maybe we'll get some valuable stuff out of it from there. So we'll have to wait and see. People may recognize your name from the 6.1 dev blog that went out just before 6.1. So obviously you did a lot of work on that, including the fantastic unit card placeholders, which was artistic. I can't think of the word, Will, but you know.
It's a crime.
It was artistic crimes?
Crime, I think is the word you're looking
Fair
for.
enough. I'm very disappointed that they didn't make it into the patch.
Humor británico, gente.
That aside, are there any kind of highlights from 6.1 or things that you particularly are proud of that you'd want to talk about?
I think, yeah. So when we were concepting a lot of the work for 6.1, there was definitely one feature, I think, above all else, that kind of really got the mental juices flowing. It was when we were talking about how do we do atomins. And atomins, of course, are these provincial governors, and so they're meant to emphasize the power of interior Kislev. And as we went through a lot of different variations on what can an atomin do, we came to this idea of what if an atomin lets you take a settlement, left-click it, and then right-click an enemy army nearby and have the settlement attack the army. And this idea of having a settlement attack an army instead of an army attack a settlement, which is the usual Total War flow, just immediately everyone who was talking about this, eyes up. Like, that's an interesting idea. That's fun. And the moment we knew we had that, we couldn't stop chasing that dream, essentially. And it's a big technical challenge to achieve, but it was simply too interesting for us to let it go once we caught on to that idea.
Thanks, Will. That's really awesome.
Yo debo decir que esta me parece una idea muy interesante y que se pudiera exportar no solamente a lo que está ahora mismo en Kislev con los atamanes, sino a guarniciones normales de todas las facciones. Sería muy interesante. Es algo muy puntual, pero quién sabe. Me gusta que la idea de la que las guarniciones puedan proteger los alrededores de sus ciudades o pueblos y que puedan salir de él, ¿no? Para que no se queden ejércitos cerca de la ciudad y que se sientan cómodos ahí.
From one round of big changes with the refreshes from 6.1 and the future in 6.2 to another side that we're actually working on, which is campaign AI changes. Now, we've just recently run a beta on Steam, which has actually just finished. We're looking at the feedback now. We have another one that's going to be coming up in the near future. And this has been headed up by Rado in Sofia. So I'm just going to bring him back. I didn't even have to click my fingers. I'm that good. But yes, Radoslav here has been heading up the project for this campaign AI beta. We've just finished one of the rounds of the beta and are looking at the feedback at the moment, and we do have another round coming in the near future. So if you missed out on the first one, don't fret. There will be another opportunity to try out some of these changes. So Rado, for those who haven't actually seen much about this campaign AI beta yet, what is this initiative? What's the kind of top level of what you are looking to do here?
So the main goal of the beta this time around is to present the community with our latest efforts in addressing some of the more prevalent feedback around the campaign AI. Most of the changes are centered around the AI's passivity, and since the AI is a very fundamental part of the game and it feeds into a lot of different things like game difficulty and so on, we decided to kind of approach it a bit more cautiously, and we decided to go with the beta branch to not suddenly introduce this massive of a change to all users.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good. A really good way to let the players kind of have their say, I suppose, in this process. Are there any highlights or any particular things within that beta that you want to call out that you're particularly excited about or proud of?
So the highlight change of this beta has to do with the campaign AI's ability to recognize when it's being threatened by foreign forces. We discovered a rather fundamental issue with the way AI just looks at the world, and we found out that one of the rather fundamental assumptions of the AI around when it's being invaded and when hostile forces are present in its territory was just kind of wrong. And the AI was finding itself in situations where it thought it was being assaulted by enemy forces, when in reality, all that was happening was foreign agents were just making incursions into the AI's territory, which caused it to fall into this rather defensive posture, and it started prioritizing, consolidating its forces, making sure all its settlements are garrisoned, and this really robbed it of opportunities to, be aggressive and do other things in the game. So resolving this issue has been a real standout for us.
Awesome. Can people expect quite a kind of big difference in how things play out as a result of this beta?
Generally, the the overall AI's behavior isn't that different. This tackles a particular set of circumstances where the AI really just completely focuses on defense, but the frequency of this behavior can vary wildly between campaigns. So I expect that in certain playthroughs, like players will notice a very big difference, and in other playthroughs, the difference might not be so large.
This is something that we've struggled with a lot in the past with when it comes to working with the AI is there's such a huge variance in events, whether depending on what the player is doing, depending on what the hundreds of other factions are doing. And the AI's decision making is very complex and layered. So it's easy to, or rather it's difficult to find high level trends quickly without lots and lots of games being played. And that's one of the great roles of something like the beta, is letting us get lots of information distilled down into a real player experience.
Awesome. That's really good to get that insight into it, really. So for the people at home who may or may not have already been on the last beta and are hoping to get in on the next beta, what can the players do to help support you guys in this initiative?
Frankly, the best way anyone in the community can help us out is just tell us your honest feelings. This is the most important thing for us. We understand that there might be further issues. There are, many different combinations of difficulty levels and legendary lores that you can play. So no feedback is, worth more or less. Just being open and honest with how you feel about the game is the best thing for us, because it really allows us to understand how you feel, understand what really bothers you, what can we improve. That's the biggest focus for us.
Brilliant. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Rado, for all that insight into that. So, yep, like we said, there will be another beta starting soon if you did miss out on the first round. So don't fret, just keep an eye out for more information on that in the near future.
He dejado todo este tiempo en el vídeo para que expliquen de qué iba el proyecto, de las mejoras de ella en campaña, y como podéis ver, tampoco han aportado mucho, la verdad, respecto a lo que estuvimos hablando y explicando en este otro vídeo del canal, que os dejo aquí arriba. Pero que cuando salga la nueva beta, lo mejor va a ser probarla y opinar fuerte sobre ella. Yo os incentivaré a ello y haremos vídeos en el canal. Creo que es muy importante que ellos mismos se den cuenta de lo que falla y que hay una persona que esté encargada de todo esto. Pero realmente poco han aportado en este vídeo, ¿no? Y que poco han hablado de conclusiones adicionales y de los datos y de los feedbacks que han tenido de la primera. Me esperaba más de esta sección, la verdad, es algo muy importante para nosotros los jugadores de campaña, asumo que para la compañía también, por lo que hemos visto aquí, pero a nivel de exposición en este vídeo no hay mucho más jugo del que sacar respecto al que ya hemos visto en el otro vídeo de aquí o el que ya acabamos de escuchar de su parte, así que vamos a la siguiente sección.
Now let's move on to another topic of discussion, which I'm sure a lot of you are going to be very excited to hear about, which of course is what's next for Total War Warhammer 3 DLC.
Lo que estábamos esperando, el próximo DLC, sin sorpresas, es el pack de 3 de Slaanesh y bueno, mejor vamos a verlo.
So just like our previous DLCs that we've put out over the last couple of years, this will be another 3 Lord pack. But we're going to do things a bit differently now. We're not going to bombard you with all of this information, punch you in the face with it straight away with all of that info. So today we're going to reveal the first of the 3 factions, and Vasil's going to help me with that. So Vasil, what can you tell us about what's next for Total War Warhammer 3's DLC?
Actually, I'd be quite interested seeing people guess this online and observe their excitement as much as we're excited to develop it and later on release this DLC. Some guess right, some guess wrong.
Yo sí que acerté.
For the next DLC, we've prepared, as you mentioned, 3 Legendary Lords and also 1 free Legendary Lord. And the first one that we're going to reveal today is Dechala, the Denied One.
Just a quick note, we mispronounced Dechala's name throughout the rest of our interview, so instead of Dechala, please imagine we are saying Dechala. On with the show. Okay, so Dechala for Slaanesh, that's our first Legendary Lord for the next DLC. What can you tell us about her? Who is she and how does she play?
Yeah, so she's shrouded in mystery a little bit. She has been marked by Slaanesh, leaving her severely mutated, shedding her previous form. With her being right now a snake-like creature with many arms, and in each one holding a deadly sword, leaving devastation across the battlefield. She's gonna play much in the theme of Slaanesh, of speed and damage and destruction. So she's gonna be able to quickly get in and out of battle, leaving bodies and devastation behind her. Also able to flank on the battlefield very efficiently, and in that sense, she's going to be a very versatile and deadly warrior.
Interesting stuff. Can you give us a bit of insight into maybe a couple of units that will be coming in her roster, maybe how they fit into the lore there?
As always, I think I'll keep the most interesting things for myself for now, but I can share a few units of the Slaanesh roster. One of the units, it's called the Champion of Slaanesh. The Champion of Slaanesh looks very much like Dechala. He is a snake-like creature with also many hands, but not as many as she has. The Champions of Slaanesh are known to be one of the most fiercest chosen warriors for Slaanesh that deal a lot of damage and destruction, much similar to Dechala, but not in the same scale, of course. They have multiple hands, each hand armed with a weapon, a sword, and they will circle around the battlefield in support and deal a ton of damage wherever they go.
En este punto voy a hacer un inciso. Si lo primero adicional que nos muestran es un héroe o general, tampoco lo han dejado claro, eso creo, ¿no? Si va a ser héroe genérico, general genérico. Me gustaba mucho que Dechala saliera como Lord legendario, me flipaba, pero... Bueno, Dechala, por lo que han dicho antes, ¿no? Pero que el héroe genérico sea su misma skin o su mismo proyecto o formato no me termina de gustar. Me parece ir un poco al tiro fácil. Dechala ya no sería algo tan exclusivo, me pasa lo mismo que con los líderes de Katai. ¡Ah! Esta se convertía en dragón, qué exclusivo, ¿no? El hermano también. Uf, ahora sacan uno nuevo que también se convierte en dragón, ¿no? ¡Ah, qué novedad! Nótese la ironía. Le resta protagonismo a su figura y al formato porque un genérico que también sea de este estilo, que también vaya como un estilo serpiente, me parece una lástima, la verdad, aunque me mole el concepto.
So another unit that we're planning to introduce are the Pleasure Seekers. They're a demonic cavalry, which present a demonette on a demonic steed. The demonic steed will provide the necessary speed and additional power that the demonettes don't quite have right now, so they're going to be incredibly punchy in battle, going into encounters quick and leaving them with the same speed, dealing a lot of damage in their wake and moving into different places efficiently. They're going to be efficient in flanking, they're going to be efficient in charges, they're going to be an all-rounder quick unit for people to enjoy. We're still not quite there with the implementation, as this video is recorded early, but we're expecting to see them in their full glory quite soon.
Bueno, pues ya nos lo han mostrado, tendremos una unidad de caballería monstruosa, de la misma manera que esperábamos a los jinetes de Juggernaut en Corne, los de Nurgle montados en sus bestias de Nurgle, tenían que llegar los monstruos o las monturas de Slaanesh. Muy típicos y serán como las caballerías demoníacas más fuertes, puede que tengan bonificaciones contra grandes, que estemos enterando en unas unidades de 32 integrantes o algo parecido, sería muy buena caballería entonces si tuviera bonificación contra grandes. Si no la tiene y solo tiene buena penetración de armadura, buenos stats y buena carga, hará un papel muy parecido al que ya hay. Y recuerdo que de caballería demoníaca hay de dos tipos ya. Esperemos que sea, como digo yo, que tenga algún tipo de bonificación, ya sea contra grande, que sería lo mejor, o contra infantería, pero tendremos que esperar que nos digan más en futuras fechas.
So what more can you tell us about Dechal's faction and the kind of associated faction mechanics?
So we've tried to be faithful to what Dechala is and represent her as such in the game, and she is the leader of one of the most fiercest warbands under Slaanesh's followers, and that's the Tormentors. The Tormentors roam around the world and leave destruction in their wake in their search for excess, in their search for the better life for themselves, and that applies the most to Dechala. She wants the best pleasures and feelings for herself. She wants the best experience for her own life, and for that reason she uses her powers to dominate the opponents around her and to dominate the enemies that she manages to defeat across the world. These subjugated enemies help the Tormentors and Dechala live their opulent lives that they've used to, and we're going to try to reproduce exactly this in terms of the destruction that she causes, the effects that she applies to settlements around the world, and how she uses her enemies for her own gains and her own benefits.
Debo decir que parece que tendrá algún tipo de subyugación de enemigos derrotados, pero eso era algo que Slaanesh ya poseía, pero no nos dejan nada claro aún de cómo irá su campaña y estilo de facción, los Atormentadores, el nombre sí que nos lo han dicho. Quizá tenga algo de que vaya subiendo por cada derrota del enemigo, contra cada enemigo para que cada vez les vayan humillando, ¿no? Y destrozando su fortaleza progresivamente con defusa a su ejército o a su facción. Tocará verlo, porque es un asunto muy importante, pero quizá aún sea pronto, ¿no? Aunque después añadan algo más, no queda nada claro aún. En Cari dicen sí que será más seductor y Dechala más contundente, ¿no? Ante el derrotado y con elixires, que eso también tiene que ver con su lore. Pero bueno, que me anticipo, esto lo veremos más tarde.
In regards to Slaanesh as a race, what more are we going to expect to see in the kind of free race rework? Is there anything that's coming in that's going to play into this?
So I'll be honest in this question, and we have to be cautious of how we approach it, as we've discussed many things about Slaanesh. Currently, N'Kari is the only available legendary lord for Slaanesh, and we want to distinct him from the other lords that we're going to add with the DLC. And with that distinction, we're looking into the content of Slaanesh as it exists right now, tailored a bit more towards what N'Kari presents in comparison to, let's say, Dechala. So we're looking into tweaking and modifying things for Slaanesh, like technology trees, skills, and things like that. But beyond this, it's early in development to promise anything, and I don't want to mislead anyone. And for that reason, I'll be more broad and say that we're looking into everything Slaanesh and try to achieve the best result for Dechala, N'Kari, and the mystery legendary lord that we've not yet revealed.
Que esto o lo interpreté así antes, están hablando de los cambios para N'Kari, el seductor, y de repente dice que bueno, que habrá que hablar del lore legendario gratuito, que llegará con el DLC, y parece que será de Slaanesh, ¿no? O eso entendido por lo que dejan caer aquí. De la misma manera que con Epidemius acompañando a Tamurkhan, o con Arval acompañando al Despojacráneos, pues habrá que empezar a apostar por qué lore legendario vendrá adicional para Slaanesh, ¿no? Opinad ahí abajo, quiero leeros.
Talking, of course, about N'Kari and Dechala, both of them have these strong overtones of they defeat their enemies and then in some way their enemy is then made their puppet or under their control. But what is the key difference between the two approaches, or you're playing N'Kari versus when you're playing Dechala?
That's actually a pretty good question. It's very much on point. They both indeed control their enemies in some form or fashion, although the difference here comes from where N'Kari uses seduction. He uses his demonic influence in order to appeal to his victims. Dechala is a bit more forceful. She dominates her victims with the help of an elixir of sorts, and we are going to represent that in her faction mechanic, as she's going to be using more forceful methods in order to use the people that she manages to enthrall, and rather than N'Kari's softer, I guess, quotes unquote, methods that can be compared with.
Nice, good question. I'm going to have to rein you in a bit. You're going to steal my job. Awesome. Thank you, Vasil, for all that information. So there you have it. The first of your 3 new Legendary Lords coming in the next Total War Warhammer 3 DLC. We will be shining a light on the others in the future, so keep an eye out for more information. Do let us know who you think they could be in the comments, or head over to the CA community or Total War Discord, get involved in the discussion, and yeah, we'll see if any of you get it right. We're not going to tell you if you get it right. You're going to have to wait and find out. But I'm interested to see what you think. So thank you to Will, Vasil and Radoslav for joining us today. It's been really good to talk to you. We'll be back in the near future. Until then, see you later.
Final. Bueno, realmente este vídeo, aunque largo, no nos da para muchísima paja, ¿no? Ya sabemos una de las unidades y el lore legendario para el próximo DLC, que la beta de la IA aún no nos confirman fecha, bueno, parecía que lo iban a sacar ahora, a finales de marzo, y al final no, y que los parches ahora mismo con reworks y unidades de relleno pueden ser algo que se ve a menudo. No son malas noticias a mis ojos, de hecho este tipo de vídeos me gustan mucho, ni malas propuestas, tocará esperar más para ver quién acompaña a Slaanesh en este DLC. Mi apuesta eran altos elfos y elfos oscuros, que por lore creo que molaría mucho. Lo opinaba antes de saber quién era el lore legendario elegido, pero quizá ahora, sabiendo que es Dechala, tenga más puntos a mis ojos esa opción. Realmente por lore tendría sentido y os explicaré más cuando os muestre el lore de Dechala, que está al llegar para la próxima semana al canal, y qué conexiones tiene con los altos elfos y los elfos oscuros. Aunque estos últimos más relacionado con el fin de los tiempos, creo yo, pero bueno, un nexo sí que hay y me gustaría explicároslo en un próximo vídeo. Y qué deciros, que como siempre un placer teneros informados de todo lo que influya en este uno de nuestros juegos favoritos, y que me da la sensación que si tenemos ya algo de información del lore legendario y de una unidad, más vídeos o blogs como este están al llegar. Y quizá el DLC no esté tan lejos como pensábamos, no sé, quizá estamos a finales de marzo, quizá mayo, junio. Yo creo que abril sería muy pronto, pero iremos viendo. Si queréis estar al día, ya sabéis, suscribíos y nos vemos en el próximo vídeo. Un abrazo. Y oye, que si tenéis la tarde libre, estaré en Steam y en Twitch, que hoy comenzamos antes, que tengo movidas de reuniones y juntas generales de la falla. Así que, si tenéis tiempo, vamos a Twitch. ¡Chao!
Bye. Everyone wave. Okay.